So I don't know about y'all, but I have not been feeling a lot of peace lately. Some of that is external. There's a war going on in Ukraine. There's still garbage going on in Gaza. There's stuff going on in South Sudan. There's suffering among Uyghurs in China. There are ICE agents throwing protesters to the ground, stealing people off the streets, shooting my colleagues in the head with pepper balls. The world does not feel peaceful, even with a nice, new, fresh blanket of snow outside and the joy of the Advent and Christmas seasons all around. Some of that, though, is internal. Some of you have experienced some of my less peaceful moments, those times when I get frustrated or irritated or overwhelmed and just can't quite hold it together, even as I am doing my best. There is not peace outside and there is not peace inside. I'm not feeling a lot of peace right now. Some of that too, some of that is small peace. A huge chunk of what I just mentioned is the absence of peace that is the presence of conflict. Those fights between people, between factions, between nations. Those fights between feelings and motivations. Those conflicts outside and inside that if we could just calm them down, if we could just quell them a little bit, if the conflicts would go away, if we could just cover them up, we might find peace. A little peace, a small peace, but peace nonetheless. Some of that too is big peace. I have heard it said that peace is not simply the absence of conflict, but the presence of justice. You can get rid of the conflict. You can cover up the conflict. You can make it appear as if there is no conflict, but still not have peace, because you do not have justice. You do not have fairness. You do not have righteousness. You do not have love. You can beat down a conflict, keep it from simmering over, and still not have peace. So I am enmeshed in this multifaceted lack of peace. It is outside and it is inside. It is small and it is big. There is no peace to be found. It certainly feels that way. I need to make an aside here, kind of an aside, an important aside. It involves a way of thinking that is not quite normal to us. It involves a word that does not appear in this reading today. At least I don't think that it does. But it is important for getting an idea of what is happening in this reading, of what John is talking about, of what his followers are on about, of why we are lighting a candle for peace, but still talking about justice. It's this Greek word, this Greek stem, delta iota kappa deke. If you were to read an English translation of the Septuagint, the Greek translation of the Hebrew Bible, you would run across this word. And in the English translation, it would be translated as justice. If you were to read Socrates or Plato or Aristotle or any of the Greek philosophers or playwrights or political leaders, and you ran across this word, it would be translated justice. If you were to read a translation of the New Testament into French or German or Tagalog, this word would be translated into the French or German or Tagalog terms for justice. But if you were to read an English translation of the New Testament, this word would sometimes be translated as justice when it's big, when it's external, when it's the stuff that is happening out there, when it is the stuff that God will bring to the world at large. And other times, it will be translated as righteousness, when it is personal and inside and about me or you as individuals. There's a reason for that. I'm not going to get into that reason because it's not a good reason. It is a pretty bad reason. It's a pretty horrific reason. It is a pretty justifying stuff that's not so great reason. But it's there. And we often make this distinction between the big outside and the small inside, between the world and the individual. And that distinction, that difference, it's not there. It's not there in Hebrew, it's not there in Greek, it's not there in French or German or Tagalog. We are connected and interdependent. And just like Soylent Green, society is made of people. What we do, what I do, what you do, matters. And so when we talk about peace, when we talk about justice, when we talk about hope or joy or love, when we talk about those things, it's not just about in here or out there, because in here and out there are inextricably bound together, so much that they are almost the same thing. Keep that in mind. In our reading today, we meet John the Baptizer, the precursor to Jesus, the one who comes before and starts setting things in place for the God who is love to come into the world as one of us. And he is preaching in the tradition of prophets. He is preaching that a crooked way will be made straight, that mountains will be brought down, that valleys will be filled in. And I want to be clear that I don't think he's talking about geography. I don't think he's going to mess up the layout of the land. It's nice, after all, to look out and see mountains and hills and valleys and dales and rivers and paths that wind through the woods along with paths that are straight. God made the world a way the geography works. John is talking about us. John is talking about the way that we live together, because I don't know if you have noticed, but there are some folks who get to walk a nice, straight, easy path, and other folks who have to walk a complicated and crooked path that winds and doubles back and does strange things. There are some people who get to sit up on mountains and look out over the rest of society, the rest of humanity, the rest of the world, make proclamations and be heard. And others who are in valleys, who are in ravines, who are in just straight up holes in the ground, hidden away and ignored and unheard. Things in our world among people are not even. And that's not to say that things have to be the same for everyone, but they're not even. They're not equal. There is a certain lack of justice, and because there is a lack of justice, there is a lack of peace. And what John is telling the people, what John is telling his followers, what John is telling these Pharisees who come to see him, is it's not going to stay that way. Every path will be made straight. Those who are high will be brought down. Those who are low will be brought up. The playing field will be even. And we will live with one another, equal before God. Because the God who is love is coming into the world as one of us to change things, to make the world anew, to bring peace, and therefore to bring justice. The Pharisees are not super comfortable with this idea. It's understandable. I'm not super comfortable with this idea. Most of us are not super comfortable with this idea because most of us in some way, shape, or form are at least a little way up the mountain. Our paths are just a little straighter and smoother than some other folks. We have, in some way, shape, or form, a little power, a little prestige, a little privilege. Some of us have a whole bunch of it. And we have to be honest. When someone talks about bringing us down from our mountains, about putting us on an even playing field with others, that can feel like a loss. Because it is a loss. It is a loss of our mountains. It is a loss of our higher status. It is a loss of our power and our prestige and our privilege. It is a loss of that chance to stand above, to be more important than. It is a real loss. But part of being Christian, part of following Christ, part of following Jesus, part of abiding in love, part of abiding in God, is understanding that that loss, that giving up of this thing, is not a form of oppression, but a chance for freedom. An opportunity to not be bound by a life on the mountain, but to live with others, to be part of something bigger, to find peace. John is also not super happy about this. I don't know if you've noticed, but he does kind of yell at the Pharisees. Who told you to flee from the coming wrath? Things were about to get bad for you, but you're showing up here. And I understand that too. There is that desire to look at those who we're not so friendly with and to think, if only we would be fine and they would get what's coming to them. Or at least what we want to be coming to them. But it doesn't work like that either. If every mountain is brought low and every valley is filled in, if every path is made straight, then that is true for everyone. And while it might not feel great for those who are on the mountain, they will at least be included. We will at least be included in this new world, in this renewed world, in this restored world, in this redeemed world. It may mean learning how to live differently. It may mean learning how to accept those who we were not so fond of before. And it will also mean learning how to be accepted by those who were not so fond of us. But it will be something amazing. A chance to live. A chance to live again, a chance to live abundantly, a chance to live in a world full of justice, full of peace. And here's the beautiful thing. We do not have to wait for that. Last week I talked about hope. And my big point was that having hope means believing that what we do matters. What we do makes a difference. And it can be easy right now to think that it doesn't. It can be easy right now to think that we do not have power. After all, I cannot end a war in Ukraine, or garbage in Gaza, or stuff in South Sudan. I can barely stem my own anxiety. I cannot change the world. But remember what I said earlier about that Greek word, that Greek stem. There is no difference between the inside and the outside. There is no difference between what I do and the big things. There is no difference between the small and the huge. Every act of charity is an act of justice. And it means that there is more justice in the world, which means that there is more peace in the world. Every act of hospitality is an act of justice, and it means that there is more justice in the world, which means that there is more peace in the world. Every act of kindness, every act of love, every little thing that we do, especially those of us who are on mountains, every moment we step down, every moment we lift someone else up, every little thing that we do, I don't quite want to put it this way, but I'm going to, is magic. Every little thing that we do is a little bit of God in the world, is a little bit of love in the world, is adding a little bit of love to the world, is adding a little bit of joy to the world, is adding a little bit of peace to the world, is adding a little bit of hope to the world, is remaking the world. It is Christ around us, among us, and within us. It is the work of Christ coming out of us. So do the small things. Do the little things. The charity, the hospitality, the kindness, the love. Because if we do that enough, if we level the mountains just a little, if we fill in the valleys just a little, if we do that enough, the whole world will be remade. and God's reign of love will blossom all around us. And maybe at last, we will find justice. And maybe at last, we will have